Hi, Joe Theismann, world champion quarterback and entrepreneur, and I have the pleasure to sit with Rory Peters here, who is a performance optimizer. Now, we talk about performance optimization and getting people to do the best they can and taking advantage of the situation to their fullest. How did you come up with the term performance optimizer or optimization?
Through a lot of years. I've spent a lot of years in various careers setting myself up to make it to the top. And the first time I did it, it was by accident. I really didn't know what I did to get to the top.
Really?
But after I did it the second time, I looked back and went, okay, there were some things here that were in common. What were they? Okay, I'm just going to keep repeating this. Went on to, that started in sales. When I went into sales management, I looked back and said, okay, these are the things that I did. It didn't have to do with the fact that how I sold something. It was, all right, I learned my product better than anybody else. I learned my craft better than anybody else. I took care of my customers. How do I translate that same attitude, those same skills into management? When I moved on to becoming a computer networking engineer and teaching computer networking classes and running training departments, the same thing again. It was the exact same breakdown. What are the things that I did that made me a success here that I could repeat here? And it turns out that everything is replicatable. It's the same steps, the same thought process. You adjust and tweak for the environment, but it's the same steps and the same process that allows you to achieve the same level of success.
Do you find that so many people focus on the end result and ignore the process? It sounds to me like you have focused on the process no matter what phase of life you were in or what occupation you were in. It was the process that wound up getting you to the end result. It's like, don't focus on the prize, think about the journey. It sounds like that's what you've done.
I think you're exactly right. You always have to have the goal in mind. You need to know exactly what you want. But once you know what you want down there, then you start at the beginning. And you're right, you have to follow a certain process. You have to take certain steps that are replicatable, that require you in each step along the way to do the very best you can with that step. But it is a process. And if you spend all your time thinking about the goal, what I'm going to get when I get there,
right,
and ignore the process along the way, you end up losing.
What are a couple of key things that you learned in this journey of yours? Besides, the preparation and all that, I mean, things that are personal to you, things that have affected your life, changed your life maybe as you've gone on this journey.
I think the key thing, and you say change my life, the key thing is understanding what makes you happy. I mean, that for me was the key thing. I've done a lot of things in my life as far as career goes that I've been very successful at, but yet wasn't in love with what I was doing. And it's almost like to get to where I am now, which is a very happy place, it took a lot of this, zigzagging. So for me, one of the most important things is defining to yourself what it is that you love, what makes you happy, what can you do to contribute the most. And then once you've done that, then you have to start looking at, all right, what do I need to do to get to where I want to be?
As a sales manager involved in leading people, what are some of the key elements of leadership as you look at your role as you've gone through your life?
I think one of the key things to leadership is you have to want for your people what they want. In other words, it's not, in all the things that I've done as far as being a manager goes, yes, I wanted great numbers. Yes, I wanted us to be number one in the nation. But what I found was more important was the first thing I needed to do is I needed to have my people see what I saw, want to be the best they could be. So try to instill in them that desire to be your best. And then from there, it's not, again, not thinking about what do you want, but how can you serve in order to accomplish your goal? What needs to be done? How can you help in order to get that task done?
Leadership, a great quote I heard, leadership is not about the leader, it's about the people. That's exactly what you've defined. Leadership is not about the leader, it's about the people. I think back to being one-minded with the people you work with. When I played for Joe Gibbs as his quarterback, he was the offensive coordinator. I was his quarterback. Two bodies had to have one purpose and one mind. And as you lead people, what I sense in what you're talking about, as you lead people, they need to know why. They need to be on the same page as you. And when you get a team of people with passion is when you're really going to enjoy success.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I can think of, for example, one particular job I had where I came in. It was the first time I was a district business manager. It was the first time that I'd worked in a corporate environment. And I wanted to be a good corporate boy, right? And I want to do things the way the corporation wanted things done.
The company says do it this
Right.
way. I want to be a good guy. I don't want to upset the apple cart. I don't want to get anybody mad at me. I'll do it this way, right?
And you have to understand, my life ambition was always upset the apple cart. So in this case, I was going to try, this is a different environment. I really want to succeed here, so I was going to try to do things the right way. Their way, of course. And so they told me it would take me 6 months to get this job down. Well, after 6 months, I'd accomplished very little. And I realized that my head was possibly on the chopping block. And I decided if I was going to go down, I was going down in flames. So I decided from that day forward, I was going to do this job the way I believed it needed to be done. And the first thing I needed to do was build a team. Not a bunch of individual managers who reported to me, but to create a team that worked, as you said, cohesively together towards one goal. And one of the things I did, for example, is I created meetings once a month where we went to one of the stores, all of us came together, and literally the beginning of the meeting was, you tell me anything you want. You tell me I'm a jerk, you tell me I don't know what to talk about, I don't care what it is. Tell me what you think.
Honesty. Huh?
Honesty, 100%. And then from there, then we'll start moving forward from there. In doing this, we built a cohesive team that was beyond anything I'd imagined. The goals that I had set for the team were paled in comparison to what they accomplished. Wow. It was amazing what they did. But it was because they didn't feel like individuals anymore. They felt like they were a part of something really important and working together. And that was a cool thing.
All of us want to feel like we want to be a part of something. And there's no greater satisfaction to feel a part of something that is successful. And there isn't any role inside that team that you built that was any more important than the other, was it? Forget about the titles, right? Forget about whatever your card says, whatever is in front of your office. I think of guys on a football team. We had guys that only used to block for running backs. We had guys that only used to be a part of a wedge. In the overall scope of what we did, throwing passes, catching passes, scoring touchdowns, kicking field goals, they were equally as important. Sometimes that's hard to understand. Because you've got to deal with envy. It's not always, hunky-dory, is it? It's not easy. How do you deal with different egos?
Well, one of the things you have to do, and you've experienced this yourself, is you definitely do have to make sure that you show appreciation. I mean, that is the absolute key, because you're right. There may be 12 different jobs, and I may say the jobs go in this order of importance. The people who have this job here, they don't consider their job to be down here. Now, it's not that
Nor do they want to hear it.
Nor they want to hear it.
Right.
And it's not that I think their job is that level of importance, but it might be in the grand scheme of things of the size of the contribution may not be as big as the one up here. But yet, if that one fails, none of this happens. Yeah. None of it. So that person needs to feel equally as well that they are contributing to the team and that what they do is important as this person up here. There is no difference that way. And you don't treat them any differently. No matter what it looks like on paper, this person sold 12 million, this person built the boxes. Well, if they didn't build the boxes, we couldn't have sold the 12 million. So you have to make sure that everybody understands that you appreciate their contribution, because without them, again, the saying goes, right? The whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Right.
And that is everything.
Right, thank you. Now, if people want to try and get a hold of you, why don't you tell them where to find you?
Two easiest ways are go to my website, www.rorypeters.com. That's RORYPETERS.com. Or you can call me on my cell, 310-367-7305.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Terrific.